This week on the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast, we're talking next season predictions. We're talking week one predictions and lines, and week one fantasy football. The season is here in the CFL. All right. Welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co host of the show. And joining me, as always, is my co host, Joe Pritchard. Joe, how's it going?
The season has crept up on me. Even though we've been doing this for about a month
Huh?
and preseason's been happening, I can't believe that we're about to kick off.
It goes quick in the CFL. It goes quick. It's not a grind like in the NFL. It's like you have draft, you have preseason, you have season. It doesn't take long. It's quick. It's quick.
No, it's
Um,
gonna feel longer for me because the Bombers don't play till week 2, so
yeah.
that might be part of this is because I'm not
Uh,
looking forward to a specific game this week, but
right.
here we are.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that. Yeah, your blue heart will have to wait until then. Um, Joe and I just want to get right into it, so I hope that's okay with the audience. I'm sure they'd rather hear us messing around for several minutes, digressing about several topics, but we're gonna deny that pleasure.
At least
All
for
right.
now.
Okay. All right, Joe. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start west or east? Let's
Let's
just
start
like get into
east because it feels more fun to me.
Really? Okay. Huh. All right.
Because I don't have to say nice things about the Riders for a little while, right?
Mm. Okay. I wanted to start with this. I wanted to start with this near the top anyway. So, okay. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. We've been making the outrageously too soon predictions and whatnot on these divisions and for the Grey Cup. What was, do you think, my Grey Cup pick before this podcast? Going into this podcast. Because we talked about the NFL futures, we talked about which
Yeah,
involved best
I can't
record,
I
Grey
can't
Cup.
remember offhand. I know we talked about it on the show, but mine was not one I like. Not one I hope comes true. So I wasn't really focusing that heavily on yours. I think you are a lot more bullish on Montreal than I am.
Okay, well done. I'm gonna go against what I said previously. Now, my picks in the CFL futures are not locked. I believe that you can change them up until uh, opening day. I believe. I hope. I hope. Because I have stated on this show that I believe that Toronto would come out with the best record in the league this year. I also came out and said that I believe that Hamilton would win the East and be in the Grey Cup.
Oh right, the curse of the East champion that's been going on for like the last 3 or 4 years.
right, right. Looking for the 9-9 team that's going to represent the East. But you know what? Um, I've been shuffling around this a little bit, and I've been looking at my team, especially Montreal. And you know what? This team isn't that different from a couple of years ago. Even, I should say, 1 year ago at this time, because that's really when the Alouettes peaked out, was in the first half following the Grey Cup win. First half of the season following that Grey Cup win. I don't see a lot of difference here, except for the obvious difference at quarterback. Now, I realize that predicting them at 12-6, which is what I'm going with, this requires a lot of faith in Davis Alexander. It's a lot of faith based on basically 4 games, all of which were against either the Riders when they were on their traditional, like, what, mid-season skid, and Hamilton, who didn't have a lot of fun last year at all playing football. So, not exactly an awesome sample size. But look, at wide receiver, we've still got Austin Mack, we've got James Lechler, we've got Tyson Philpott back, right? Cole Spreaker is here. He had a nice season. On defense, most importantly, we still have Noel Thorpe as coordinator. Daryl Sankey, Tyrese Beverett are still out there at linebacker. Why not? Why not? Montreal 12-6. I'm going to start there. Should I just run down all my records
Yeah, go
or?
for it.
All right. I've been going back and forth on this one a lot too. At first, I had Hamilton winning. Then I dumped them to what, maybe 7 or 6 wins, thinking they need to prove this. How many times do we say that, right? Need to prove it before I'm going to pick you to even have a winning record in the case of Hamilton lately. Okay. Finally, I ended up with this. I'm going to deny Toronto. I'm going to give Hamilton the benefit of the doubt. All right. So I'm going to put Hamilton at 10-8. I'll put them in second place in the East. All right. I figured, look, I think my gut feeling on draft night, and it stayed with me for about a week afterwards, after I'd gone through the YouTubes of all the clips of the guys I could see. I really think that Hamilton may have done the best in this draft. I like how they signed Deshaun Amos out there in free agency. And, we have the returning MOP on this team, right? So they're going to score a lot of points, you would think. So I'll put them at 10-8. I'll put them at 10-8. And this numbers, I'm going to have to put Toronto at about 8-10. Um, I think that this requires a lot of cynicism in Chad Kelly because, like him or not, he does appear to be quite the athlete and quite the winner as a quarterback. But the truth is that Toronto got picked apart in this offseason in classic Grey Cup champion fashion. They lost a lot, what, 5, 6 starters on the defense, I believe. Um, they're starting the season without Chad Kelly, even though they won the Grey Cup without Chad Kelly. And we're going to talk about this opening Toronto Montreal game later on in the podcast. But um, yeah, it's pretty interesting how little the public thinks of their man right now, even though he's returning as a Grey Cup champion. But I'm going to put Toronto at 8-10. I think they never get it going this season. I think it never comes together for them. They're obviously talented roster, but nope, I think they're going to lose out here. Um, and then, for no better reason other than the numbers had to work out, I've got Edmonton at 5-13. Um, I hope they prove me wrong. I mean, I could be completely wrong on the East. I get the feeling that Joe's predictions are going to be exactly the opposite,
Wildly different.
more or less. Do you still have Ottawa in fourth?
No,
Oh wow! Oh wow! Oh, I don't think I want to hear this.
no, you don't.
Okay, I want to hear your reasoning behind this. So, but yeah, I'm going to go with Ottawa at 5-13. I hope they prove me wrong. I think that last year they were among the smartest teams in the CFL. They did not turn it over a lot. Um, they ended up with a quarterback who was much disregarded at the beginning of the season, made it through the whole season, and came third in yards passing. So, you know, I hope they prove me wrong. Sort of, not at the expense of my Alouettes, but I do hope they prove me wrong. Um, so that's where I am at now. Let's see. By the numbers, that would, yes, there will be no crossover. according to my numbers. So I want to say that I do like my predictions because the Alouettes win the East. But I do like this also because it denies the East this 9-9 team. All right, that always goes on to win the eastern half of the bracket. So I'm going to make that not possible in my dream scenario or my predicted scenario. All right, Joe,
I don't
destroy
have
it.
9 and 9
Destroy it.
at all
Okay.
anywhere.
Okay. Go ahead. Destroy it.
Okay.
Kill me.
So I just maybe it's the fact I've had to watch my team lose two of the last three Grey Cups to this team. Maybe it's seeing them deal with all sorts of chaos and issues and injuries and always seem to come out on top. Maybe it's the fact that there were one just Chad Kelly horror film in 2023 from going three in a row, possibly. Who knows? But I've got Toronto at 14-4. I just think that
Wow.
they're at least on the field run very, very well. They've always figured out how to patch the cracks. They've got veteran backups. They're ready to go. It it's always a battle of attrition in the CFL. And any prediction I make today could be turned on its head at the end of week 1 because the
Of
wrong
course.
person went down. But
Of course.
I think Toronto's the best fit to deal with a battle of attrition. They've proved over the last 3 years. I think they prove it again. 14-4 might be a little high, but I don't. They're, but I don't think they're without their quarterback for nearly as long this year. They got Nick Arbuckle's got something to prove too this year early on, taking Chad Kelly's spot just to show, hey, I can do this if there's a team that needs a starter too, right? He's got something to play for. So I've got them high. I've got Ottawa at 11-7. I think
Nice.
they're growing.
Wow.
I
Wow.
like their offense.
Wow.
The defense needed improvement, but they got shredded. Injury issues, right? I just think they're growing, and they're going to be the next team that challenges Toronto. This year, maybe not. Maybe we even have a blowout East final for all I know. But I think it's their turn next. I think they're a step ahead of Hamilton, who's starting from kind of just scraps and like
And Bo Livy
duct
Mitchell.
duct tape and bubble gum basically the last 3-4 years, right? It always
Mm.
seems like they've been trying to patch together one more run on a team that's best by date expired in 2019, right? So I feel
Well,
like they've been doing that for the last bunch of years, especially given they were hosting Grey Cups in 21 and 23, right?
mhm.
And then last year I didn't see a big change, a big rebuild setup that I was expecting to see. But now I know what Ted Gavea could bring to the team, and I know what kind of team he wants to build. He hasn't built it all the way yet. It's gonna take a couple years, but I think they take the first step toward the end of this decade being a team to be reckoned with. And then Montreal, I just think I think I had Hamilton at 8-10. I've got Montreal at 7-11. Just simply, I feel like they're moving too many pieces right now, especially with the loss of Walter
Really?
Fletcher now.
Wow.
I just don't think they have a lot of questions in the offensive backfield all of a sudden. And some of their receivers have had a lot of injury issues over the years. And if there's problems in the backfield and the receivers still have injuries, I think the defense keeps them afloat for a while. But I think they're the team that would surprise everybody with a fall. So I feel like they're the team that I'm going to go out of my way and say this is kind of my wild card here. I think they take a fall where nobody else thinks they're going to take a fall.
Okay.
Because
I've
I
got
mean, if
to.
Davis Alexander doesn't work out, like you pointed out, small sample size,
Yeah.
they obviously know something we don't.
Right.
The last time we questioned them knowing something we didn't, it blew up in all of our faces, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if they got that kind of magic in them this year.
Well, they've got some pretty decent backups there. I mean, we have some guys who can play ball behind Alexander. Um,
And McLeod Bethel Thompson is an aging veteran at this point. He's done well with teams with a lot of talent around him, of course.
yeah.
I don't know if this offense has the weapons that he would need where he's at in his career to be able to make him be the guy that comes and saves their bacon if Davis Alexander implodes in the first month, right?
Okay. Okay, but I have a counter argument. Counter argument?
Yeah, go ahead.
Counter argument is pretty freaking nice looking offensive line
Hmm.
with mostly Canadians too, I would point out. You got guys like, Cyril Hogan Sandin, you've got Pierre Olivier Lestage, you've got Tiger Shanks, your boy.
Hmm.
This is a pretty nice looking line. And I think that this line is going to forgive a lot of ills in the backfield. You talk about backfield issues. I think that hopefully that there will be some nice play here. It's another thing I'm counting on because again, I was looking at this Montreal team and there's a reason I'm bullish on them. I'm not completely irrational here. I may convince you at the end of week 1.
We'll see. There's a rather big game going on in week one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, 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 no. We will talk about week 1 later and I will talk
Uh huh.
about why you do not bet week 1 and this is why.
Because
Stuff
it's
like
effing chaos. Next
yeah,
question.
well, no. Okay. I'll save this for later. I'll save this for later. But I do have a whole philosophy on week 1, especially with regards to betting and making predictions for the season. Week 1 really is a minefield. Um, okay. So, all right then. What do you have for a playoff picture?
I think it's chalk. I
Okay.
don't have a crossover either.
Okay.
I think Toronto gets over the curse of the East Final and
Okay.
wins convincingly against Ottawa. Ottawa just wouldn't have that kind of experience across the roster where Toronto does to play in that kind of game and be ready for it. Might be overvaluing that a bit, but I think Toronto's a step ahead anyway. So
Okay.
I've got Toronto winning that one pretty convincingly. Ottawa learning some harsh lessons and licking their wounds and coming back next year, hopefully.
Hmm. 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 Okay. Um. All right. I put myself out there with this one, so it's Toronto. Oh
Yeah,
man, you're
I,
predicting your nightmare scenario, Joe.
I absolutely am. I mean, either I'm right and I look like a genius, or I get a Grey Cup I can actually,
Right.
have a rooting interest in.
Right.
Right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So, because I think I know the way that you are leaning. Okay, Joe, you made me go first on the first one. Go ahead.
Okay.
Give me your West.
I've got Saskatchewan at 11-7.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have
11
issues.
and 7. Wow.
11-7. I mean, last year was
Wow.
worse. Remember, right? Out west,
Okay.
it was worse. So this isn't all that out of the way here.
Okay. But you got a tight West then, I'm
I'm
thinking.
kind of do, but not that tight. Because remember, I've got a lot of wins in Toronto.
Yeah.
Um, so I've got Saskatchewan 11-7. I think we see Trevor Harris play 14 games, and they win most of those.
Mhm,
I've
mhm,
got Winnipeg at 10-8. They're still fighting. They're still going to try to keep that throne as long as I can. I think maybe this year's one too many transitions. I don't think they're way out of they're not going to just plummet like everybody thought was going to happen in June last year.
mhm,
But I think they finally get to take it from them.
mhm,
BC, I have a really hard time figuring. And 8-10, I kind of feel like is a placeholder because I feel like either we're going to get Nathan Rourke of 2022 and that pick's going to look really dumb,
mhm,
or we're going to get more of what we saw at the end of 2024 where there was no cohesiveness between him and what was going on around him.
mhm,
And they're going to be worse than that. So 8-10 kind of feels like the middle ground between their ceiling and their floor is as different, is as far away as you could possibly have it in this
Mhm,
league right now.
mhm. I was
Uh,
going to call 8 and 10 a cop out
it kind of is,
because
but I don't have like that's as close to 9-9 as I get, right?
yeah, we'll
Because I
discuss.
don't know which way it's gonna break.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
also don't have Edmonton and Calgary faring very well. Like I have Edmonton at 7-11, Calgary at 5-13.
Okay,
I think
okay,
Vernon
right,
Adams
right.
drags them to like 5-6, 5-7 by mid-season, and then they just kind of have a crash near the end.
Mhm,
Kind of how I feel like that's going to go. And I just don't think I think Edmonton's got too much back and forth going on right now. I don't think there's anything cohesive there yet. As much as we've been championing Trey Ford at least getting a chance as a starter, the situation
mhm,
isn't great because
mhm,
there's not a lot around him that's built and cohesive. New coach, new old GM. I mean, they're going to win a few games that they've lost in previous seasons by
mhm,
just being terrible when the chips are down. I don't think they're going to have that kind of issue this year where the 3-minute warning hits and they turn into pumpkins.
mhm.
But I also don't think they're much better than picking up a few of those that they give away, right?
Uh-huh. Mhm, mhm. Okay. Um, all right. All right. So here we go. Again, in the theme of this, I was talking with Joe about this before the show. I'm literally still changing my mind on this right now. However, this one I'm going to change my mind on just to be interesting. All right. My top two have pretty much stayed this since I first made up the table. Nothing I've considered has led me to think differently. Right. So I've got Saskatchewan and Winnipeg at 12-6. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna hurt you, Joe. I'm gonna hurt you because of what you did to my Montreal team. I'm gonna say that Saskatchewan wins the tiebreaker based on Labor Day. the
Cruel.
lab, the Labor Day game, the Labor Day game will be such a win. It will be enough of a win to give them the western half of the table. Okay, so we're gonna say Saskatchewan wins the tiebreaker, 12-6 for both of them. Yeah, and after this, okay, going into this show, literally just like 5 minutes ago, I had BC at 8-10, and I put Calgary at 7-11, and Edmonton at 7-11. Okay, I think
Yep.
that.
Because you don't have an East team as high as I have an East team. That makes sense.
Mhm, mhm. Right. I think that look, Calgary. I know that you are not bullish on Calgary. Okay. And I know that this pick requires a lot of faith in Vernon Adams. And let me say this. I think that the biggest wild card in this entire league might be Vernon Adams this season. I think the stamps will go as Vernon will take them, more or less. And, Vernon has, we can't treat him like a kid anymore. Vernon has stabilized. He's quite good. He got the rug yanked out from under him when Nathan Rourke made his triumphant return to Canada. So that was kind of a bummer for him. But he took it in stride. There's no like flare ups here anymore, we think, right? He might have a bad game or two, but who doesn't, right? Um, so I'm gonna be just to be interesting here, just to like spice things up. I'm gonna go with Vernon and the whatever emerges from this pool of wide receivers that Calgary has right now, which I'm very interested. I'm gonna be watching that this season, I think, pretty closely. Is who survives from this bunch because they got a lot of names they can throw out there and a lot of untested guys, a lot of young guys. Let's see what they have here. Let's see if the scouting department did their job in Calgary. And so I'm going to be very interested to see it. And you know what? I'm going to go with them. I'm going to put my faith in the Stampeders organization to return this team to the um, playoffs again after missing it for the first time in this century? They
No,
missed the playoffs?
they had the Dunnigan year in like '04, right?
Oh, right. Right. Almost. Almost the entire century. And so, yeah, I'm going to put them in third place, and I'm going to put BC and Edmonton down there at 7 and 11. I I don't know. I was looking at the BC roster as well. I didn't like how they gave up big bunches of points in the middle of the season last year on defense. And I'm looking at their receiver core, especially, their receiver core has 7 names on it. Now, a couple of, you've got a couple of veterans, you've got a couple of fantasy guys out there. Fair enough. But it's pretty thin. They have what's his name? I put it up here. Yeah, okay. I was going to mention Keon Hatcher and Justin McGinnis are still around. Big name Jerome Jackson, right? He's here. He played with, well, he appeared in a few games with the New Orleans Saints last year. But guess what? Even on the Saints, he was doing kickoff returns and punt returns. So he might mostly be doing that. Other than that, you have Katoy, Berryhill, and Eberhardt. I mean, these guys are part timers. I just don't like the receiving core out there, even if this offense finds a way to click, which they haven't done since Nathan has been back. So I'm going to say the woes continue. Now, Edmonton at 7-11, you said that like, this is kind of a bummer, Trey Ford transition period and whatnot. But 7-11 will not be bad unless the team starts like 0-9. Let's just not have that again, Edmonton. Okay. Let's not start the season like that. If you get that 7-11 in like groups of 3-2 wins, that might be better. Might be better. So please, no long losing streaks. Okay. So you have the Riders coming out of the West.
I do.
Oh man, Joe. Oh man. Um. Well, should I be kind to you? So
Only
how
if
about
you
the
want to.
how about the Winnipeg Montreal Grey Cup? How about that?
Let's see. I could do for a rematch of that. Yes, I think we owe you one.
If I'm not putting I'm not putting money on that prediction. So in all seriousness, I do think it will be the Riders. But you know what? I'm going to take the Owls. I'm going to take the Owls because why not? Why not? Again, I believe they're not that far removed from their heyday, 12 months ago, 13 months ago, and a little bit past that. Um, what the hell? What the hell? We'll do the rematch of the 13 men on the field. Please don't say that. Don't say that in Ryderville. Right? Um,
I'm gonna just keep my mouth shut because I'm in enough trouble with Rider fans already, just because of the colors I wear. So,
okay, let's go into week one. Let's go into week one real quick. Okay, so some very interesting lines to start the season. Um, okay, so the season opens kind of a weird choice to start the season. Do you have a guess? Why did they start with Ottawa Red Blacks plus 2.5 at Saskatchewan Roughriders?
plus 2.5. Well, it goes really, really well with the predictions I've made because I have them both at 11 and 7, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what we give 3 points for home field, so they think Ottawa's a half point better. Like they could have just tossed a coin and went either way with the half point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
a
feel like
Rouge.
it works out really well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So who do you like? Who do you have in Pick'em? And do you have any insight onto the score?
I have Saskatchewan and Peckham,
Okay.
and I would have gone the other way had it been in Ottawa because it's that I feel like, especially early on,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna be tight. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have I don't have a terrible team in this league. Like Calgary is the closest it gets, and I have them at least somewhat capable of winning games here and there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I've got Saskatchewan at home. I just feel like there's going to be that one or two plays that those bounces that happen to them at home
Mhm.
that's going to happen to change this game for them.
Mhm. Okay. Um.
I would say let's put up some points. Let's get it in the high 20s for both, like 28, 27 or something like that.
Oh, I think it's even going to be higher than that.
Oh,
I think a nice bet here is the
now
over.
remember last year they had that game, that really awful, brutal game where neither offense could do anything until the officials tried to give the game to one team and then the other, then the other, then the other, and they ended up tying, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's have a tie. What are the odds on a tie in this game?
It was the only fair thing to do after they had given one team the win and then the other team the win and then the other team the win. They couldn't decide who to give the win to anymore, so they just said, "Forget it, nobody wins."
Mhm. Right. 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 Yeah. That was a classic in an odd way. That was an oddity. Let's say.
That was like I always have like a week around like week 6 through week 8 somewhere
Mhm.
where it's like, holy cow, the officials are just terrible this week. And then it's like only a couple more weeks until the NFL. I see the NFL play, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
I had that one bad week,
Exactly.
but like I'll take the CFL's way of doing things more than I will the NFL's. Thank you.
I think you've made note of
Happens
that.
every year.
Yeah. I know you've made note of that. I'm getting heavy deja vu right now.
Yeah.
Um, I should have said this at the top, but I will say this now. In all seriousness, even if you enjoy betting, week one betting is pretty much folly. Pick'em is pretty much folly. And I'll tell you why. I say this often, I've probably said this on this show before. Here's the thing. What you know now about CFL season 2025 compared to what you will know on Monday about season 2025 CFL is minuscule, right?
Mhm. I feel like we grow exponentially each week through like the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, in the CFL, yes. In the CFL with the long season and with the repetitive like matchups, yes, yes. You can feel yourself getting into it through those first 5, 6 seasons. But look, the truth is game one, week one in any sport to bet is pretty much folly. You can talk about the names on the roster and da 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 da. You can talk even about preseason in the case of football, right? But the truth is that no, no, no. Until you actually see it in the game, you have no clue. I think after week one, we will see teams that shock us either way. I think if Ottawa pulls off the upset, and they could in week one, which is why I do not bet week one, even though they could, I think the smart money / smart prediction is on the riders here. Simply because in this week one, all things being equal, I will be playing Pick'em, but Pick'em is not for money. So I will be playing Pick'em and I will be taking the riders. Um, I would say that this one's going to go over. I'm just generally going with the trends here. Saskatchewan tends to come out hot. They tend to win game one. They tend to win the first few games. I've got them with a winning mark, and I don't have the Red Blacks with a winning mark. So I'm backing the Riders. The Red Blacks are a picture perfect example of the team that could completely change my mind after 1 week. I have no idea
Yes,
what I'm
because
talking about.
because our week 2 show is always my favorite of the year, the wild overreaction
Yeah,
show.
of course, you got to do the overreactions, right? You have
Yep.
to. You have to. I do get the feeling though, and this has nothing to do with the outcome of the game. This is a prop, right? So I do get the feeling that this could be a barn burner. I think there might be a lot of points. I think you could see 33-30 in this game, Joe. Assuming that Drew Brown comes out firing like he did at the end of last season.
No
As
reason
long
to believe he won't.
All right, sure. Why not? Why not? I mean, the Red Blacks survive by speed and smarts. these past couple of seasons. The games that they don't play dumb football and they don't play slow football, and they do play quick. They don't have a lot of size, but they do play quick. Um, on the negative for the Riders, Sean Bain might not play, so that could have a little effect there. Okay, this next one. Wow. See, again, lack of respect. Lack of respect. Toronto Argonauts at Montreal Alouettes. Do you have any idea what the line is on this, Joe? Would you like to
Six and
guess?
a half for Toronto.
Plus four and a half. Plus four
Four
and a
and a
half.
half. Okay.
I mean, come on now. Yes, I know it's at Montreal, but this is the defending Grey Cup champs, right? With the defending Grey Cup champion quarterback, but just no respect. No respect here. Look, I'm not betting on, certainly not, or picking against the Owls. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not going to do it this week. No way. No way. Toronto, look, even if you think 14-4 is generous, Joe. But even if you think 14-4, right? You've got to suspect that some losses will come early in the season. Why? Because again, they've had to rework their defense. Done. Okay, I've got here in my notes they've lost 6 starters. Okay. And on top of that, in this first game, they are facing Davis Alexander, who, again, small sample size. So he's a bit of unknown
Unknown
quantity.
quantity. Mm-hmm.
A bit, not too much, but there will be some X's there. There will be some question marks there for the newly formed. Again, we know nothing. Argos defense in this game. So I take Montreal to win, and of course, I think they'll cover this 4.5. Let's see, but again, let's see what this offensive line looks like. I think it will look good. That's another thing I'm going to be looking for in this game. Right now, I'm taking Alouettes.
Yep, and I could absolutely see that happen, especially if Davis Alexander gets off to a hot start because there's not a ton of tape on him. He knows, Toronto's defense isn't as cohesive as it was last year, which is totally on the table. You know, Toronto has quarterback issues. That's all potential possibilities. I'm still going Toronto just because they're the team in this league that can make the best out of a bad situation.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna need to see Davis Alexander prove it for more than a month, and I'm going to need to see Toronto fail to to weather a bad situation. And then this situation is nothing compared to what they went into early last year.
Mhm. Mhm. Um. Okay. Hamilton Tiger Cats at Calgary Stampeders. You want to guess on this one?
Hamilton is 2-point favorites.
1.5. Very good. Very good. The Stamps and Vernon Adams are 1.5 point home underdogs against Bo Levy Mitchell. And the big question mark in the East. Once again, I think. Um,
And a heck of a storyline too, because I think this is Bo's first game back in Calgary as an opponent. They didn't
could
have it
it
happen
really
last year.
be? Wow.
Or was that I know the first year he was in Hamilton, that didn't happen. No, I think that happened last year now that I think of it. But the first
Yeah.
year that game didn't get on the schedule because they were still doing some sort of COVID scheduling, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Right.
Okay.
So nope, I might be off on that, but still, I mean that's a way to take a matchup between two teams that
Yeah.
not a lot of people have in the playoffs
Yeah.
and make it an event in week one, right?
Mhm, mhm. What are you going with?
I'm
Are
going
you going to go with
Hamilton.
the Tie Cats?
I'm going Hamilton.
Okay.
I want to see, and I think
You
it's going to be
really don't
a
like
fun.
the Stamps this year. You
No, I
really
think
don't like
it's
the
going to
Stamps.
be a fun game. I think it's going to be chaos both ways. It's going to be one of those games that you just sit there and go, "This is fun." I'm glad I don't root for one of these teams this year, but this is fun. I mean, I've seen
Wow.
5 picks and 2 pick 6s, but like this is fun.
Mhm, 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 mhm. Nice. 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 Okay.
Now, I mean, Hamilton got over the Calgary jinx recently, so
Mhm.
that doesn't have to be taken into as much of an account anymore. I think Hamilton is going to have the more talent in this one.
Mhm. Um. Well, again, I'm bullish on Calgary. On the other hand, I have both of these teams right around 500.
Hmm.
Um, it may be foolish of me. Actually, I did the numbers on this, or at least the recent numbers on this. Um, it may be foolish of me, but I'm going to say Calgary at home. That's enough. I mean, if I'm talking about two 500 teams in my estimation, well, okay,
Well, that's
there you
exactly what
go.
I did with the Ottawa Saskatchewan game. I had both at 11-7.
Mhm.
Who's home?
Right,
That's exactly how I'd pick it, right?
right, right, right. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. Oh, and by the way, I did crunch the numbers on this. Now, in the post-COVID seasons, all right. Last year it was 2-2 home team in week one, just outright. 2-2 in week in 2023. 4-0 in 2022, and 2-2 in 2021. So most years, actually, the home team splits. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. But our final matchup is the Elks at BC Lions. What do you think here, Joe?
BC because they're at home and Edmonton always gets off to slow starts.
So,
And because it seems like when Edmonton goes into BC lately, they come out uh, like much worse for wear. They get
mhm,
destroyed usually.
mhm, mhm, mhm. What would you put this line at?
I would say BC -6.
Very nice. 5.5. Dude, you
I'm on
should do this for
fire.
a living, man. Um,
And watch, I'm 0-4 and pick 'em, guaranteed. Although I've gone
you
two
don't
and
even get the outright winner. Nice.
I picked 2-2
Uh-huh.
for home teams, right?
Yep. Let's see. Did you? Okay, because I want to.
Saskatchewan and
Okay,
BC. So the
you've
other two I
you've got
picked road.
and yeah, you've got Hamilton and you've got Toronto. Yeah, because you're breaking my heart repeatedly here, Joe.
Yep.
Repeatedly.
So I've got the trends. I should sell these.
Okay, but great. You should do that, Joe. But before you do that, well, why don't you sell us on CFL fans fight cancer, and then we can talk a little fantasy.
Okay. Just as a reminder, as you'll be getting all season, uh, Tavern United is the place to be the Saturday before the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. Event runs from 1 to 5. The goal from the event plus everything else coming before it, including the shop, it's still available till June 15th, is 100,000 Canadian dollars. So let's get going on that, guys. And we're just looking forward to a lot of great events thrown throughout the season in different CFL cities. I know there's one that usually happens Banjo Bowl weekend in Winnipeg that I'll be happy to attend. Uh, just looking forward to helping with this great cause year after year after year.
Okay. All right. Great. Um. All right. So, nicely done, Joe. Was CFLfansfightcancer.com, right? Not
Dot
.ca.
com.
.com.
Yep.
.com. Okay. Great. Okay. Great. Yes, it is a worthy cause. Last year, of course, the Rouge, White, and Blue donated uh, some money to the cause by winning the CFL Podcasters Fantasy Football CFL League, something like this. This year, we're in it again. So, probably every week, we'll try not to get too heavy in it because there's nothing worse than listening to somebody talking about their fantasy matchup. But we will talk about our roster every week. So, okay, Joe, you've picked the team for us. What do you got? What do you
I'm
have for
still
us?
I'm still playing with it too, so this isn't
Okay,
could be
great,
considered final.
great.
But Hamilton is a cheap defense, and I always like cheap defenses against teams that could turn the ball over repeatedly or
Mhm.
won't score a lot of points, and they're facing Calgary. So
Wow.
one of those two may be the case. Or given that I picked Hamilton, Calgary's probably putting up 45 now.
Mhm.
So, but cheaper like by 3K than any of the defenses, so I like that. I got Trevor Harris at quarterback, being at home against Ottawa. Ottawa having the trouble in the defensive secondary last year. We think the game is going to be a high scoring game, so Trevor Harris seems to be a good play there. Still toying with my running backs because I actually do have about 10K left to play with.
Okay.
I don't always like to go high and heavy on running backs, and I am going to be watching depth charts as we get closer. But I like Justin Rankin out of Edmonton early on, depending on how they're going to deploy him. Not sure I'm going to stick with that pick because I'd like to
Okay.
see how Mark Killam and company play with that running back situation. But they did have a nice thunder and lightning thing going on with Javon Leake last year.
Mhm.
And Deontay McMahon is a placeholder for me at running back right now for Toronto. I don't know again who they're planning on starting, but I'm probably going there. Uh, One way to keep a backup quarterback from having to throw a lot is to develop your running game. So I think whoever Toronto runs out there is going to be the guy, um, a guy that's going to put up some stats for you and probably at a cheap price too.
At running back?
Yeah, I
Really?
think so. At least you'll get
Wow.
some value for your buck. You're not going to be throwing 13 or 14K at a running back and still getting something out of it, right?
Okay.
I don't go
Okay.
with every pick's not going to be a home run, but I want to go with value across the board, right?
What about what about Montreal's running backs? How much are
I
how much
don't
are
even
those?
know. Like I don't even
I
yeah,
wonder about
just,
that. I
yeah,
wonder about that.
because they're going to be cheap too. So
Yes.
whichever guy, cle- if there's a clear starter,
Mhm.
that might be a play too. But you got
Mhm.
to be really comfortable with that
Yeah.
because if Montreal gets down early, they're going to have to throw a lot.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. But again, like I'm putting a lot of stock into Toronto defense will be gelatinous this first week to whatever.
Right.
I am not
And if
expecting
you get the
instant
game you
results.
want and you think is going to happen, then
Right.
Montreal's running backs make
Right.
sense for you.
Right. I'm also putting a lot of faith in the Montreal offensive line. These are the two teams I think I did the biggest deep dive on before this show for sure.
Yep.
Montreal and Toronto, for obvious reasons. Um, so yeah, I wonder about that. Okay, who did you pair Harris with?
I didn't grab any Saskatchewan receivers given that
Ooh,
Sean Bain is out,
yes,
but I know he's a guy that will spread the ball around a lot. So I
yes.
don't want to sit on receivers. I
Okay.
do have two Ottawa receivers though, one in the
Hmm.
receiver spot and one in flex. I basically leaned on Justin Hardy all season last year,
Yeah,
and that went
yeah,
well for
yeah.
me. I've also got Pimbleton in as my flex because he's 9K.
Mhm,
And then Kenny Lawler's only 8.6K in a game where I think Hamilton's going to put up a lot of points. It's like, sign me up.
mhm,
So I'm still debating a few of the roster choices, especially the running backs, but I got a cheap team
mhm,
so that as we get closer to kickoff and the depth charts come out, I can make some final decisions and have some flexibility.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And then if I somehow forget, I've at least got something that's functional.
And you've got Hamilton defense.
Hamilton defense. Yep.
I obsess way too much about defense in fantasy football in general.
My
Uh,
two rules for defense
mhm,
is does the cheapest does is there a team that's way cheaper than anybody else?
mhm.
Hamilton. It's also week one,
Oh
so
yeah,
we don't really know what they got going.
right.
So they're
Mhm,
3K cheaper, and they're playing a team that is not known for throwing up big numbers lately. They have a new quarterback, but Vernon has been known to have stretches where he throws a lot of interception. So if he hits one of those, or Calgary's offense doesn't have the weapons to put up a lot of points, I've just scored some points for a lot of value because I didn't throw a lot of money at it. Now, if there's no team like that, or if that team's facing a high-powered offense,
mhm.
then I kind of go through the rest of them and go, okay, which one has the best matchup? But if I can get that cheap team to make sense, I'm going to run with it.
How much is Dominique Rhymes
Gosh, I don't even know. Let me take
for
a look here.
Calgary?
Running at 9.8.
Huh. Huh. Because I wonder about the value of that. I mean, that's for me.
If you think
It's a real X factor.
if you're of the mind that Verdon's going to have a
Right.
big day and you're looking for a receiver, that makes a lot of sense, especially making a pairing like that.
Joe, I'm of the mind that Vernon Adams is the X factor.
Yeah, it's either going to be yay or nay, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's Henry Burris level this season. I don't know if he can win like
Oh,
Henry, but
I've had that exact same thought like the last 2 or 3 years,
yeah.
where he's kind of got the Henry Burris career arc going on too,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
quite at the beginning, but more so as a little bit streaky.
Yep.
But if you have him as opposed to an average quarterback, you're feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Now, as opposed to when he would blow up every 3 or 4 games.
Right.
You know?
He's getting
And
more
he would
consistent. Yeah.
implode. He would implode. Right. Is you don't get the 5 pick games from Vernon too much anymore. Whereas that was a fairly regular occurrence when he was in Montreal, when he was younger. Um so again, like again, Vernon Adams for me is the biggest X factor on this season. He'll probably be the like this for most of the season. It's just so I don't yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Dominique rhymes. That combination could be nice. Could be nice. Okay. Of the predictions that you made, nice fantasy team, Joe. I'd say roll with it. I'd say if you can get a Saskatchewan, or if you need to fill that position with a cheap player, I'd say take a wide receiver. Just roll the dice. Just pair them. You might get lucky. You might get the double touchdown. I would suggest. And I don't know if you need another cheap spot, maybe Montreal running back. Um,
Yep. As the depth charts roll out, I'll be locking in more. So what I'm
great.
gonna do.
All right. Well, maybe you can tell us how you did. Who's the first week matchup?
I don't even know that yet.
Yeah, they don't. It doesn't really matter because they don't let you see it anyway until kickoff. So even then, they only give it to you week by week, right? So you don't get to see, you only get to see the player's past performance. If they're coming up, you don't even get to see the names of your opponent's players. Um okay. So, of the preseason predictions that you made, which do you figure you are you are most likely to be wrong at, and which are you
Montreal.
most confident in?
No, I would say Montreal is my biggest. Montreal and Ottawa kind of swapping spots. It's kind of my biggest gamble.
Okay.
And I think the one I'm most confident in is Edmonton not soaring into the playoff spot.
Okay. 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 You think that's a vogue pick? Think lots of people have Edmonton this year?
I think so. I
Uh-huh.
think people have been waiting for a while for them to put up make a lot of noise. I don't see it this year with all the changes going on.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I know
Well,
they've had to be patient for a lot of years, and they haven't had a lot to show for it. At the same time, I think they're 1 year away. As long as they can just go, okay, this is the foundation. We're gonna build piece by piece, and we have a 3 year plan. This is year one, year two, year three.
mhm.
Hervey's shown he can do it, but that was a while ago. He hasn't had nearly that kind of success anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get back some of that old magic, which is what they seem to be chasing these days in Edmonton.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. Okay. Great. 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 Um Yeah, I would say I'm scared of the Red Blacks. I'm scared of the Red Blacks. I think, but I'm confident in the Riders. I think it's the Riders year. If not, we'll probably get Winnipeg. So
Yeah, because who else would it be in the West right
that
now?
would be cool.
Unless
Yeah.
the only wild card to that whole thing is if we get the 2022 Nathan Rourke, then all bets are off for everything, right?
Yeah. 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 But I don't know. I don't
And
know.
I want to see that to believe it at this point.
Where is the Grey Cup this year?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. Oh God. I
I mean,
can.
that's the Hollywood ending I've been selling for the last 2 or 3 years, right? Like this is how this whole team's run
Oh,
ends.
this is how it ends. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong about how
Wow.
it ends because that
Wow.
would be a disaster movie for Bomber fans. But
Wow. Wow. Yep. You'll have to beat the evil Montreal. You'll have to beat the evil Riders on the way in, and then you'll have to beat the evil Alouettes in the Grey Cup. And then everybody retires.
Zach did sign for one more year after this, but who knows?
Oh, okay. So he can't quite retire.
Well, he could.
Uh,
He could. I mean, if he gets that ending, why wouldn't you?
okay. All right. So Bombers aren't playing. How will you approach this week? Will you watch them all? We watch them all live.
I'll
I'm sure
watch
you
what
watch them all.
I'll watch what I can.
Okay.
It's just not a good time in my life to be able to go, yeah, I'm going to watch this one and this one and this one. I'll watch what I can.
Streaming, Joe. Streaming. You gotta let.
I mean, I'll get chances to see here some of it,
Uh-huh.
but I can't guarantee I'm going to be as able to watch 3 or 4 as I used to be able to.
Uh-huh. Okay. Game of the week. They're all game of the week. It's week one, so we have no
Yeah,
idea.
really. I
But
mean,
game
there's
of the week.
good matchups across the board here,
Mhm.
except for maybe Edmonton, BC, if you're a fan of close games, right? I mean, the other three though are all games that could be marquee games if you had such a thing, right?
Sure. Sure. Yep. Right. Okay. Great. All right, Joe. Well, have a great week one. I am looking forward to it. We will be back next week. You got any famous last words here, Joe?
I hope I'm wrong about every single prediction this that I made today, except for
Every
maybe
one of them.
picking,
Okay, good. Especially the
except for
Montreal.
maybe the fantasy stuff because I have something riding on that.
Okay, good, 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 good. And the pick'em stuff. Well, actually,
Oh,
yeah. No. If you go 2-2 and pick'em is a good week.
I will happily toss the pick 'em aside
Mhm.
if it means that Toronto and Saskatchewan are not the Grey Cup, right?
Yeah. Oh, obviously, obviously, you trade that every day. I might trade that every day.
Mm.
Anyway, okay, Joe. Great. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening, everybody. My name is Oz Davis. For my co-host Joe Pritchard, this has been the Rouge White and Blue CFL podcast. Happy opening week. We will talk to you next week.